So, morning of the exam, scheduled for 9:30. It's just gone 9 now, so I've got 10 minutes before I need to log on, make sure everything is working and hunky-dory. The new rules for flying a drone in the UK have relegated many people with larger drones to flying in the open countryside far away from people. But taking a one-day course and exam changes all of that. So a little bit different this week. I'm taking the A2 C course and the exam, so I can tell you exactly what flying right it brings you, what the course covers, how hard or difficult it is, and crucially what the exam itself is like. So everyone, Ian here, and a little bit different this week as I'm undertaking, as I said, the new A2 CFC course, because it will make a huge difference to anybody flying a drone heavier than 250 grams. A recent couple of videos outlined the impact of the new EASA rules and how many people, as I said, are very unhappy at being relegated out into the open countryside if they're flying an unclassified legacy drone. In a nutshell, the type of flight you are now permitted to do is based on the type of drone you're flying, and for existing drones that don't yet carry the new numeric classifications, the flight categories are dictated by the weight of the drone itself. All the new categories are explained in my drone rules video that you've probably seen, but basically you've got A1, which is inside congested areas and flying right over uninvolved people. You've got A2, which is also inside congested areas but staying 30 or 50 meters horizontal distance from uninvolved people. And then finally you've got the A3 category, which is flying in open countryside, staying 150 meters away from these congested areas and 50 meters horizontal distance from uninvolved people. And so whilst the smaller drones like the Mavic Mini and the Mini 2 get the most freedom to fly in A1 right over people, all other legacy drones over 250 grams get relegated to A3, far away from people. But as I said, look, the A2 CFC course brings you back in from the cold and does give you more freedom to fly some of these bigger drones in the same sort of areas that you can then fly the Mini or the Mini 2. Before the new rules came in, the only way you could fly inside towns and cities was to take a professional course like the PIFCO, the Permission for Commercial Operations, which took 2 to 3 days and cost over £1,000 to get, along with an annual renewal fee of about £250 and the requirement to maintain an operations manual and flight logs. So all that got you was the ability to fly inside congested areas, and you still had to maintain that 50-meter distance from people. So now with the new A2 CFC course, you're going to get the same level of permission, but after just taking a one-day course that is around £100. And that's why so many people are doing it, and that is why I am undertaking it this week. Right, so I'm undertaking the course with UAV Hub. This is a company run by Matt Williams, who many of you will know from his own YouTube channel, Mr. MPW. There are many companies throughout the UK offering the A2 CFC course, but all have to abide by the rules and content laid down by the CAA, and this includes the exam itself. So whoever you take the course with, you will end up being tested on the same content. I chose UAV Hub because the entire course and exam can be taken online in your own home, which for those of us in the UK is pretty important given our current lockdown at the moment. So what exactly is involved? Well, as I mentioned, the entire course is online and you can go at your own pace. There's around a day's worth of studying, which is mostly made up of video modules. Crucially, you can go at your own pace and you can do each module and then come back to it a day later, which is exactly what I did, because each module is around an hour to an hour and a half, meaning you can literally do a module each evening and then come back to where you left off the following evening. First module is Air Law. This is throwing you pretty much in the deep end, to be honest. It's a chunky 19 videos totaling 90 minutes of viewing pleasure. It's followed by a quiz at the end, and in this element you will learn about the main rules that govern unmanned aircraft and how they apply to you flying your drone. Next up, you have a lighter module on meteorology with around 13 videos totaling just under an hour's viewing. Covers all the elements of the weather, namely temperature, wind, rain, snow, ice and fog, and how these can all affect you and your drone's performance. And again, there's a short quiz at the end. Next up, you've got the Unmanned Aircraft Flight Performance, and this is all about how your drone actually works, how it flies, how to keep it flying and what can go wrong. It's around 17 short videos totaling just under an hour, and again it's got a short quiz at the end. And then next up, you've got the Unmanned Aircraft Operating Principles. It sounds quite grand. This module covers how the rules outlined in the first modules on law apply to you in everyday situations, and how to handle crashes and other incidents, including how to report anything that's gone seriously wrong. I think this is a really useful module as it covers so much of how and whether you can fly and how things can go wrong. It's a chunky module, mind. It's 20 short videos totaling an hour and 20 minutes, 80 minutes in total, plus the quiz. But as I said, I think this is a really useful module of the course. Next up, you've got Flight Planning, which is around 15 videos, again, just under an hour. This module is possibly more info and prep than most of us would actually utilise for everyday recreational flying. But like so much of the course, it actually gets you into the mindset of being prepared and knowing what to do when you're flying your drone, and crucially what to do when things go wrong. You then get the final revision module, which I really did find the most useful. It summarises all the key points from all 6 modules. It's only 12 short videos and it only totals 20 minutes. After that, the mock exam module unlocks and you're able to take your first full test. The introduction video explains how it's a 30 question multiple choice exam that is generated from a much larger selection, a larger pool of questions taken from the actual exam itself. Apparently it's all laid out to look like just like the actual exam, and crucially you're able to take the mock exam again and again and again, and each time it's going to regenerate with a different selection of questions, all taken from this same larger pool. Now, I did this probably around 5 times. Many of the questions are common sense, and some of the answers are actually, they'll put a little smile on your face. But there are some that you will not know the answer to if you haven't covered the training and the questions. And of course, this, I guess, is one of the key points about the course. It's not about the test itself, but it's more about the content, as I said, the learning, getting into the mindset. And most of all, it's geared about keeping you, your drone, the people around you, and the people who are not involved with the flight safe. And as I said, given how much you spend on these things, I don't think that's a bad thing. So I have actually reached that stage now. I have done everything I need to do to prepare for the exam itself. Practicality and pragmatism has kind of taken over, especially in these times. So as I said, you do the exam online in the comfort of your own home. UAV Hub use a third-party company to undertake the exam, and they give you a couple of videos. Matt goes through a couple of videos on exactly how it all works, how to sign up with their website, and how you can prepare and upload your profile in order to undertake the exam. The availability of time slots was actually pretty impressive. Pretty much any time slot from tomorrow onwards was free for me to book my exam, and interestingly, you can book any time, day or night, 24 hours a day. So I've given myself another day, so it'll be not tomorrow but the next day in the morning, so I'll be bright and fresh, and we will see how we get on. So morning of the exam, scheduled for 9:30. It's just gone 9 now, so I've got 10 minutes before I need to log on, make sure everything is working and hunky-dory. Done quite a few mocks. Mocks really are fantastic for showing exactly what areas you need to brush up on, and it gives you a good indication of whether or not you're actually ready to do the exam. The exam itself is run by an external company. I've been doing the coursework with UAV Hub, but they will not be undertaking the exam. There are external companies that handle online exams, which you can do in your own home. And so it does mean that you have got an external independent third party that simply wants to make sure the exam is conducted fair, and they're not going to be in a position to encourage you in any way or help you in any way. Also means that you've got to have certain equipment. You do need a desktop PC or a Mac or a laptop, but you can't use a tablet, you can't use a phone. You've got to have a detachable webcam. You've got to be able to show around the room to make sure there's nobody hiding behind the PC or the screen rather, giving you tips. And whilst you're actually doing the exam, the webcam will be on, the microphone will be on, and it will be just like an invigilator is standing over you, which I suppose is good, keeps things fair. As I said, it's not like the drone registration scheme. It is a multiple choice exam, but if you fail it, then you need to book a retest and you need to pay a fee. I think it's £30. If you fail that, then you can't actually redo the exam for another 12 months, certainly not with the same company you did the training with. But I have to say that's really probably going to be very unlikely. If you've done the coursework and you've done a few mocks, then you're going to know exactly what level of knowledge you've got, and you'll be ready for the exams. So anyway, like I said, I've done a few mocks. I'm quite happy and relaxed. Let's see how I get on. Okay, there we go. Done, passed. One question wrong, bit annoyed. Meteorology and air warming up. Admittedly, that wasn't on any of the mocks that I did, but pass mark is 80%. I got 97%, so I'm quite okay with that. But it does show that even I've got a permission for commercial operations, and I have been flying for many years, but no matter what experience you've got, you still need to do the coursework and do it thoroughly, do the mocks, and you should be all right. So yeah, a little bit annoyed I got the one question wrong, but ultimately it's passed, and that's the main thing. So there we go. Look, exam was fairly straightforward. Probably the preparation for it was actually a little bit more stressful than it needed to be. You're sitting there waiting for something to happen, then finally somebody does introduce themselves, and then it took another few minutes before things were all ready to do the exam. But once we were ready, you click. I added stress to myself because I'd forgotten my flyer ID, so I had to quickly grab that, which kind of added a bit of stress at a time I didn't need it. But look, the exam, as I said, fairly straightforward. You get 75 minutes. It's only 30 questions long, so in practice it's probably going to take you about 15-20 minutes max to actually do the exam. Having done a fair few of the mocks, I recognised most of the questions that were coming up, which was good, but you still do get a few that you haven't seen before, including that one on meteorology that happened to catch me out. But look, at the end of the day, the pass mark is 80%. You've got to get 24 out of the 30 questions right in order for you to pass. So in truth, I really don't see it being an issue for any of you to actually pass. So I got my A2 of C certificate later the same day via email. It's valid for 5 years. So this is not only going to give you additional flying rights for 2 years whilst the legacy drone transition period is in operation, allowing you to fly your existing larger drones in the A2 flight category, but when new models come out for sale with the new numeric classifications, having this A2 of C under your belt will allow you to fly far closer to people and inside congested areas, and it'll give you additional flying rights there as well. So whichever way you look at it, I do think the A2 of C is very much worth doing. Now, like I said, there are a few places that you can actually do the course. Obviously, I'm more than happy with what I got from UAV Hub, mainly because it made sense, it was easy to follow, and ultimately I passed my exam. At the moment, they're charging £99 for the entire course, including the exam. I guess that may change over time, but for me, during doing this during the current lockdown we've got and the crap weather, it was actually perfect timing. So I relaxed, I took a week to do the course, then a final day to actually prepare for the exam, and then did the exam this morning, and everything was hunky-dory. Now, I did email Matt and asked him directly if he would offer a discount code for subscribers or for people going to UAV Hub from this video, and he was actually good enough to come back and agree. So what he's actually done, I've got a link that I'll put below here. If you click that link and go through to the UAV Hub site via that link, and then you put in the code Ian in London, you'll get an additional 5% off the A2 of C course or any of the other courses that they're offering. They've got a number of packages. I think they're even doing a GVC, that's the General Visual Line of Sight Certificate, and an A2 of C course as a combined package. But whatever you choose, put in, follow the link, put in the code, you'll get your 5% off. Every little helps. Now, I mentioned the GVC there briefly, the General Visual Line of Sight Certificate, and whether or not you should actually do that or not, well, it's the replacement for the PIFCO, the Permission for Commercial Operations. So by definition, it's going to be a lot more complex, and it will cost a lot more, and it's got a lot more onerous ongoing requirements. You've got to do your flight logs and your operations manual. And fundamentally, it's not actually giving you that much in the way of permissions. It's specifically it's a prerequisite for applying for additional permissions for more complex flights that don't fit in the open category. So unless you're planning to do specifically complex flights that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do with the A2 of C, I'm not 100% sure why you'd actually go down the GVC route. So look, Apologies, very long video today, but obviously a lot to get through, and hopefully it's been useful to you to work out whether or not the A2 CFC is something you're going to be interested in doing. For me, given the cost versus the extra rights it gets you, yeah, I was more than happy to do it. Anyway, look, either way, give me a little thumbs up, always helps the cause, and if you know anybody else considering whether or not to do the A2 CFC course, just bounce this video onto them, and hopefully it'll help them out. Either way, it's still all crazy times, isn't it? So, hope you're staying safe and sane. Either way, until next time, you have fun, happy flying.